Well, it's, for example, I know like you look on the back page, the solid waste funds, you know, that's how much is left.
Okay.
And then like,
Okay, so that's it, I see now. So our revenues are 26,919.
and then like the opioid fund is, you know, what's completely still in opioids.
I'll call you back in a minute.
All right, we'll go ahead and get the special call meeting started. Thanks to everyone that's here, and as we usually do, as we always do, I'd like us to open in a word of prayer. And if everyone would like to participate, Jim, would you lead us in prayer? And then we'll say a pledge.
Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you've given us, and we thank you for all the blessings you give us each and every day. And Father, we ask you for your wisdom here today as we make these decisions. And we ask you to be with the county and just bless everyone here in the state governments and especially the federal government, to all the writing things going on now. And Father, just give those people up in Washington the wisdom to bring all that to a close and get the country back to where it needs to be. And I think that's where we're leading. So just be with us today and give us the wisdom, and it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you would, join us in our flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you would, call the roll, please.
Squire Stone, Squire Ferris,
Here.
Squire Eldridge,
Here.
Judge Travis,
Here.
Squire Travis.
Here.
Judge Cotton.
Here. All right, well, thank you all for that. This is a special call meeting, so we're going to stick to our agenda. First item online, or if you have had a packet printed or what have you, is the second reading and the final adoption of our county budget. We sent it in the first part of May, got approval from DLG, and it's basically the first couple of pages. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the second reading of the presented budget.
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, have a motion by Zach, seconded by Dan, to approve the second reading and adoption of our budget ordinance. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Actually, I guess we ought to do a hand vote since this is ordinance. So we'll vote again. All those in favor of adoption of the budget ordinance, raise your right hand. We got 5. And anyone opposed? So the ordinance passed 5-0. Thank you for that. The next on the agenda is the standing orders list. That is next couple page. It's this page.
Page 32 on the budget.
Yeah, look, the page, it looks like this one. And, you know, it's the one that has the, you know, for example, contractor, the zoning attorney, it's things we pay every month, standing orders. I'll need a vote to approve the standing orders list.
So moved.
Have a motion by Jim, seconded by Zach, to approve the standing order, the recurring expense list. Any discussion? All right, hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. And Laura, I'll need to sign, have to get you to sign some of these. We'll take care of that when we get done. I know I've got 3 places to sign. I think you've got 2 places. All right. Next on the agenda is a uniforms policy. We discussed that some at the last meeting. The page numbers are not showing up on mine, but if you all have read that, I've got a copy here if we need to go over it. Does anyone have any questions about our uniform allowance policy? Basically, we're not paying people $750 and then expend it. They have to go to vendors that we set up or bring the receipts, and we'll pay the vendor. The employee won't have to pay, but we'll pay the vendor. Or if they purchase something that qualifies themselves, they bring the receipt to us and we'll reimburse, just like we do with boots, work boots right now.
Well, are we still paying $75, I guess, for pair of work boots?
Well, that's what we're doing now, but this now, if somebody were to buy a $300 pair, we would reimburse up to $750.
Okay.
Those boots are included in the uniform allowance.
Yes, yes. And basically, whenever that was set, you know, you could buy a pair of boots for $75, and we know that the $75 boots don't last as long as the one you'd like to buy.
You can even buy them.
So, but yeah, so it'll actually correct the boot problem, as well as hopefully correct all our other problems. And we're still set to end with UniFirst at the end of this month. They have contacted us about picking up clothes and that kind of thing. Well, they better not pick up clothes until July, because we're still wearing them, you know, until then. We're still paying for the service. So, but that's still the plan. So at this time, if everyone is okay with this uniform allowance policy, I'd like us to pass it so we can move forward.
Motion to approve the uniform allowance policy.
And the dress code policy.
Well, now the dress code policy is
So they're gonna be separate?
not on here. This is just the uniform,
Okay, so this is just the allowance.
the allowance. Yeah, the dress code will be part of what Corey's working on.
Are we passing the dress code that's in the packet?
Yeah, there's more than package.
Oh, I see it here. I see it here.
Page 4.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, all right. Sorry about that.
Well, yeah, it's technically not listed on the agenda. So
Correct.
We can say the dress code, I guess.
Well, we can take up the dress code at the next
Yeah.
meeting,
That one I think is less pressing than
the
the
uniform.
uniform, which is on the
Yeah.
agenda.
All right.
Does the dress code policy be part of the personnel policy or part of the administrative code?
It'd be personnel.
Can I see it?
We all know the feeling, Mike.
I was deep in a skid steer.
Well, hope we'll get you out of here. But yeah, I get, we can't do the dress code today because it's not on the agenda. We'll put it off.
Well, I'll second the motion.
Okay, right now, Mike, we're just voting on the uniform allowance policy. Not the dress code policy, just the uniform allowance.
Yes, sir.
And it's, basically, we're gonna give, you'll have, all employees of the road park, recycle, maintenance, and animal control, each will have a $750 allowance that they can purchase through selected vendors. We'll pay the vendor for them. Or if they bring receipts themselves for qualified purchases, we'll reimburse them. And that includes boots. So instead of having a $75 boot policy, you can buy you a $150 pair of boots now. That'll go towards your $750. So we have a motion by Will and a second by Zach to approve the uniform allowance policy right now. So any other questions? All right, all those in favor of the uniform allowance policy, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right. Next on the agenda is road construction to farmers market. I don't have any information in here. I just want to discuss about what we have going on. If you all have noticed out there, we've got the first part of the topsoil moved over behind the animal shelter, got it all leveled out. It might need a box blade, but it looks pretty good. And want to get grass sowed on it and so forth. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is I'm going to talk to the city tomorrow night. They have invited me to talk to them. It'd be in an open meeting setting, so anyone would be welcome to attend the city meeting, I guess, but at 6:30. This is one of the things that I want to discuss with the city. I've got other things to discuss with the city, multiple things to discuss. As far as us getting on the same page and working together with the city is the goal that I'm trying to get together. But on this particular road, we're cutting it down, and Todd had an amount of rock figured in, and it's a lot of rock. But we have standards when we build our county roads, and they're putting more rock in that than what our standard says, but I won't have a discussion with him. But the debate has been with the city on who owns the road. Well, we own the road because we bought it. We got a deed to it. It belongs to Spencer County and Fiscal Court. The 1.23 acres belongs to us. The city annexed the first little section, about half of it. And then the back half of our road is ours, and it's still, I guess it's zoned agriculture. Just like the property we bought, I guess, according to them, may still be zoned agriculture if we haven't changed it. But nonetheless, the debate has been about that front part. If the city wants to claim it, the way I'm going to tell them, if they want to claim that road, then they need to write a check and help build the road. We got to build us a road, so we're going to build us a road. And I've made that clear to them all along, and that's what we plan to do. We have to have a road. When we get that road built, whatever happens with land that's for sale down the road, if it does become annexed, this will be a county road that'll serve our property and serve whatever else. But at some point in time, if they want to claim that road, then they need to help build the road, is my opinion. And I just want to see if everyone kind of agrees with that. So, but right now, it's going to be our road.
So where we, people from annexing?
They've already annexed that first part.
I mean,
And the way they
I don't
annex,
see how they do that.
they do it. They just say, we're going to annex this, and they annex it.
They got state law on their side, they do that, annexation stuff.
I wish they'd come out and annex my driveway, they could fix that.
Don't disagree. So,
Maybe just one,
Right.
maybe take care of it.
but nonetheless,
State law says something, annexation is right around sewer, isn't it?
no, that would be them. Because I know for a fact that there are many places in the county, I thought there was just one or two, but I know multiple places in the county where they're on sewers, but they're not annexed.
Well, didn't we initially, well, it may not matter, but I mean, we initially talked about, probably Wayne's ended up developing, a lot of that out through there, and I thought it was us as Fiscal Court or county's hope that we would be able to encompass some of that within our infrastructure that we're working on, especially with our own developments that we've done with our sewer stuff. And to me, it's quite concerning that the city is already taking these steps this aggressively, this quick. And I don't know how to, if there's any actions that we could take to circumvent further action from them. I think we're gonna have to really come to the table and figure out how we're gonna be able to work together on this, because it's gonna be big things happening there.
Well, in all truthfulness, it got annexed when the Beehive got annexed. So, and that was before, I guess before we even got in office. But about the time though, the Beehive is 2 acres. It had to be annexed. So it got annexed, but at the same time that the 2 acres got annexed, they included .65 acres right there that hooked them to Country Mart.
And annexation has to all tie in and touch, so they can't just, they can't
Right.
go here and,
Well, that's good adjacent property.
yes, it has to all touch, tie in.
How much of that road,
Well, supposed to.
how much of that, I saw where you had that plowed up across there and good dirt, how much of that linear feet across there is?
The width of Country Mart.
Also pretty much all of it.
Beehive, took Beehive and just came straight to.
Okay, so it's followed the same property line,
Yeah.
Country Mark County?
Yeah, see, basically, Country Mart has 5-ish acres, we have 5-ish acres. So I'm thinking it's, somewhere around 700 feet all the way across, and it's about 350-ish is the part they annexed. I mean, I think it's exactly like .65 or .68 acres. And then the balance they didn't annex was the same amount, .65 or .68. It's 1.23 acres that we purchased from Mr. Sweezy for $1. And, so, we now have 6.23 acres that Spencer County owns. And it's where that road is. Of course, when we took that on, we agreed to build that road because it's gonna service us, but then it'll service whatever else. I mean, that was in the deal. And,
Too bad we didn't think of it, we made the county agree to build back the road they was gonna annex it.
the city,
Yeah, we had the city.
well, that, we can still do that. We can still do that. But, they can, to me, they can step up and we can move forward together is what I hope will happen. And I have faith that it can happen, but
The
nonetheless,
big thing from what I've heard out of the city is, they want that road to be to their spec, curb and gutters and the whole 9 yards.
well,
Which is fine if they want to pay for that.
Well, that's what I was gonna say.
they can exempt the county for stuff that we do on our property. And that's what I'm gonna try to get, that's one thing I'm gonna suggest tomorrow night. And then that'll have that part covered. And I believe they'll have to do it by ordinance, they can't just do it by resolution. We had talked about, another subject, but it's related. All the fiasco with the streets behind, the restaurants and all, y'all saw it on Facebook. But they did somebody fixed the bad places. And then also the talk we had on Spears Drive, and again, the city is paying for that, the $9,400 some dollars. I saw the bill that Mago sent the city for that. But, we voted not to do Spears, and I thought, well, the city ought to do this, and I suggested to the mayor. Well, anyway, all that got together. So I take that as a win for the city and for the county, but mostly for the people that use that road, especially us. Because now our ambulances are not dodging the chug holes, going back to our ambulance bay. But nonetheless, we have started a conversation, and I want to keep it going. And, but ideally, they need to, my hope is that they will not stand in the way. Hopefully they will step up and help pay for some of this, but if they choose not to help pay, then they need not be in our way for what we need to do to progress and move forward. But I think some of them had the understanding that entire road was annexed. And in all reality, it was just the first part. And I talked to Mr. Sweezy. Mr. Sweezy is of the understanding that they shouldn't have annexed that. But anyhow, it got done. Now, I'm not sure, I'm sure that he had to sign off on part of it, but, or all of it, but nonetheless, we are where we are right now, and I know he has told me that the intent was not for them to annex that little part. So, but, we're moving on. They've got rock in there about, I don't know, as far as me to the door there. And, but what the plan is, we're gonna go ahead and put that rock all the way across. We'll have access into our property. Of course, we're gonna discuss it next. And we'll probably discuss what we need to do. And it depends on when we get to that next on the agenda, If we do the entire project, more of that road will be built by the bidder and less will be built by us if we build both buildings. So, but we'll have that discussion here in a minute. But that's all, I wanted to keep you all in the loop on where we are on that road. So, does anyone have any?
Their meeting is tonight.
Their meeting they are reviewing
Tonight and tomorrow.
and tomorrow night, yeah. They even met last Friday night.
Yeah, I know that, I get meeting notices all the time,
Yeah.
most of them are special meetings,
Yeah, well, they're changing, some employees, they have some retirements, and, they've got a lot going on, and I see all that as a progressive, positive move forward. And, you know, I want us to try to be together on it, because I think the public appreciates us working together. So, all right, anything else on that item? All right, we'll move on to item 5, is the Farmers Market Pavilion bid award. I passed out to everyone all the bids, of course, that way you would have them in paper to look at. I guess Jim and Dan, I know, have kind of, they have taken the lead on this. Of course, Jim drew up the documents, and they looked at them the other day, and they come up with this. Karen made this cover sheet. Looks like this. It has all the bids on it. It's actually on the top of the stack that I just passed out. But I'm just turning it over to Jim and Dan. I'll let you all.
Okay, well, we got actually probably 2 quotes that we're really serious about. That was the 2 lowest ones. WPC and GMS Construction out of Jeffersonville, Indiana. You'll see there on that page, it's got all the bids on it, the top page. Bid number 1 was a turnkey for the entire project, and you got all the bids that goes across. There's 6 that bid on it. Well, GMS, the first one there, the 2.836, and then WPC 2.903 for the entire project. And I think it's consensus of me and Dan that we'd recommend that we try to do the entire project instead of just building one building or putting both of them just under the roof all the way. So.
Did y'all already tell them, like at GMS, got that bottom of the page, said we would like the opportunity of this project is over budget to help you with getting our price down? Do you know what that
Well,
is?
I could hear you.
Page 2 here at GMS, I'm not sure, it's not that second page of that one on the bottom. It says we'd like the opportunity if this project is over budget to help you with getting our price down. Did y'all have any conversation with them to see what that entails?
Not as, I've talked to them on the phone and email on both of these on just every question I asked them. And they responded, but no, that wasn't one, because what we actually need to do is try to compare these 2 bids apples to apples as close as we can to see exactly where they come in. They both told me they bid what was in the packet, okay? Period. It was in the packet, that's what they bid on. Of course, they broke their bids down, and you can see them there. WCP broke their bids down in more detail than GMS does, but they're basically saying that they both bid by what was in the packet. So if it's in the packet, it's in there, that's what they have to do. And they understand that. Now, there's probably a couple, 3 different options we could go. If we want to look at this and say, hey, we want to rebid it. But we have to rebid it to everybody, not just these 2. But to rebid it, we would have to change something in our package. We can't just take the package and say, we want to redo it because the bids are too high. Or I guess we could, but we had a reason why, such as, one of them included this, the other one didn't. And we clarify what we actually want. And say, this is what we want. This is the only thing we're going to change in the package. The rest of the thing is the same. This is what we're changing and rebid it. We can do that if we want to. That's an option. Or we can accept the lowest bid, which is GMS, and go from there. The only difference between GMS and WPC was on the option number 2 bid, where we just built the front building only, okay? GMS, where the back building was gonna sit, which is typically 12,000 square foot area, they left that gravel. The rest of the parking lot was built around, just like it shows on the prints. But WPC blacktop their entire 12,000 square foot area. So I asked the WSM, what's their cost to resurface that whole 12,000 square foot gravel where they left it? It was $80,000. So we've got, there was $149,000 difference between WPC, which is Doug White, the Builder Animal Shelter, and GMS, $149,000, I think it was. So you take, on option 2, if they cover the parking lot, that's another $80,000, then you're only about $60,000 difference from the two, on bid 2. But we're not looking at bid 2. Bid 1, turnkey, is pretty much the same, they're bidding on the prints.
Jim, did you clarify that? I know that GMS said that there were exclusions for appliances. They weren't going to furnish the kitchen.
Well, there are no kitchen breakdowns in this thing here, I thought.
No, I think it was Marion
Yeah.
that wasn't doing the kitchen.
Yeah, I think they both.
Well, GMS here says exclusions, delays, furniture, appliances, awnings, damage due to excessive weather.
Okay, I asked them that question. Actually, there's probably an email in there, in that packet I gave you somewhere where they answered that. They did include the kitchen,
Okay.
just like it says. Both of them did on what was.
I mean, most people ain't gonna supply the pictures. I mean, we'll have to supply those separate.
I think this is.
Yeah, they're supplying.
Supply the pictures.
They're supplying all the fixtures, including the fire suppression system, hood.
Yeah, it says under plumbing in the very beginning.
The,
Journals, laboratories.
all right, if anybody wants to look at what I'm looking at, I opened up one of these bid packages after the last meeting. I've got 4 of them. Four of them laying there, if anybody wants to look at one with me. All right, there's this sheet that, we've been looking at this sheet for 2 years, since we started. Jim put together, all the things we can use it for. Okay, then you turn it, and then everyone bid based on this, on the rules. And, Jim's got it spelled out real good. Well, then I got to looking at like the kitchen specifications. All appliances are stainless finish. The kitchen's 25 to 25. The island's 4 feet wide, 8 feet long. Continuous ice maker, 42 inches long, 30 inches deep. Double door refrigerator, no ice maker. Refrigerated cooler for beer kegs and bottle storage, 6 foot long, 30 inch tall doors. 2 double bowl sinks. 1 6-burner propane gas stove, 1 36-inch grill top, 1 electric 36 to 60-inch door warmer. It goes on and on. Deep grease fryer, 1 fire suppression hood, countertop electric microwave oven, commercial electric tankless water heater, roll-up door. One thing here is a 24-foot long by 16-inch wide stainless steel countertop for the outside area. 2 60-inch by 12-inch stainless steel countertops inside by the bar. It goes on and on. There's 23 feet of wood-based cabinets with light oak finish, 16 feet of wood-based cabinets under the island with light oak, approximately 50 foot of wood upper cabinets, light oak finish. I read all that and I thought, boy, this is a nice kitchen. And it includes pretty much everything. All plumbing fixtures, door handles, and cabinet handles will be brushed nickel. Wall and ceiling drywall, smooth finish, primer, 2 coats, semi-gloss paint, ceiling 9 foot. Jim has got a beautiful kitchen here, and if we wanted to cut some price down, we could exclude the kitchen. Just take the kitchen out. Now, another thing that we probably will have to consider, if we had this kitchen, the state probably will make us sprinkle this building.
Okay.
And no one included sprinklers.
Well,
You got a packet about that.
I just brought your packet in.
Oh, okay.
I went through the building codes. It's a group A occupancy and
Yeah, A2.
GMS. I asked them, Doug White, I asked them, both of them says, no, you do not need sprinklers if it's less than 12,000 square foot. And the buildings aren't attached. So I don't think, we don't have to have sprinklers in it. I mean,
Now, did you say A2 or A1?
We'll look at it, whatever it's in, it's occupancy okay, on this page, which is building occupancy, classifications. If you go on page 2, or page, let's see, yeah, page 2 is assembly, is what our building is, and then on page 3, it's, group A2. It could be that, or it could be A3, because A2 includes banquet halls and restaurants, which we've got, there won't be a restaurant, but A3 includes community halls. So it's a group A, is what it is, and if it's less than 12,000 square feet, does not need to be sprinkled.
But that's if the fire area contains a theater complex. Otherwise, it'll be an A2.
Well, we're not having a theater.
Well, if you gotta have a theater complex, or then you're limited to 5,000 square feet.
I didn't read it that way.
Well,
Jim,
I want you to be right,
Yep.
but I've been dealing with this for 3 years. And I'm very familiar with this stuff. But yeah, if you can get an A1 occupancy, yes, it is 12,000 feet. If you can get an A1 occupancy.
are these and or?
What's that?
Well, it says fire area has an occupant load of 300 or more. So what's the occupancy of this building?
We can make it whatever we want by posting an occupancy load on the door.
Well, but the state will decide that
Yeah.
for you.
No. Anyway, I thought we were clear that, you know, it didn't have to have sprinklers. Maybe we need to do some more research on it, but you go into the building codes on the internet, it takes you there and it tells you exactly, and I printed it off. It's in there somewhere.
Well, does anybody know, what's something like it costs for building this size?
For a sprinkler,
250.
I have no idea.
probably 250,000.
It's according whether it's a wet or dry system. I know that one Marion that bid on it, they did one dry and one wet. The dry being for the back building because it's unheated, front system being a sprinkler system, wet. So they did include it in theirs, but didn't give a price on it.
If y'all, I don't know, I've been looking, if you go to Cracker Barrel and sit out on the front porch in a rocking chair, you're sprinkled. There's a fire sprinkler outdoors at Cracker Barrel on the front porch. So.
Well, I think
And
it needs to, you know, you call $250,000. I mean, we gotta know.
Yeah, the good news about out there is there's plenty of water source. They got a 12-inch main, I think, out on 155. If you build one in the country, and it has to have fire sprinklers, you gotta build a 40,000 gallon, tank to pump water out of.
Well, I don't think the water main size really will make any difference. It's the price to install it that we're looking at.
Well, if we didn't have water though.
Yeah, we did, so that,
Yeah, so, but at that, you know.
I don't know who else you would go to find out. You know, I mean, you go look at the building code, it tells you that, you know. Steve Clark, I don't know if he would know.
Would the state fire commission have anything?
Well, I quizzed, that there's a guy named Terry Graham, he's a nice guy, he works at housing. And I told him what we're planning to do. And I asked point blank, we're building a building this big, do we have to have sprinklers? And he didn't answer yes or no. He said it depends. And I said, okay, so I was trying to whittle off the depends. And I never got an answer. I'm pretty sure that he would be leaning that if you had this cooking facility, that they'd probably make us sprinkle it. Because you can't even have a cooking stove that you buy at Lowe's for $400 sitting in one of these buildings without the hood suppression. Now, you can have a warming oven, but you can't have anything with a griddle top.
Well,
So, but
there has to be a way to get the answer whether you submit those plans to the state, because people don't build $50 million projects guessing, well, do I have to have a system or do I not have to?
We just ain't covered the right rock yet.
Yeah, there's, I don't know the answer, but there's an answer somewhere.
because what,
Well, GMS said by email that, the way they looked at the code, it did not have to be, and they're the lowest bidder.
I think we'll stand by that and eat the price of it if they turn out to be wrong.
It has to go through the state, you know, their plan, their architectural plan has to go through the state, so if the state says yes, then, you know, that's something I guess we negotiate on, you know.
well, here's a goal that I got today. Number one, I think we're gonna need to rebid this to do the whole project, because it's over our budget. All right, we put $2 million in the budget to do this. Plus, we got 300,000. So we basically got 2.3 to do the whole project, or we could just do the front building. Now, if you look at the bids, I tell you where I've landed, and I want to stand by where I'm landed, and I want y'all to talk me out of it if I'm wrong. But where I have landed is that we can get the second building built very reasonable compared to the front building. Comes loud on the microphone. Sorry about that. We can build, the second building is inexpensive per square foot versus the front building. And if we go ahead and do the back building, we're gonna have another 100 and some plus foot of road built that we won't have to build ourselves if we just built the front building. And I asked about debt service yesterday, and they sent us back these figures. If you did need to borrow money, what the annual payment would be. And I want to throw these out for conversation.
I have while we're just talking about this, this is a relatively small project in the commercial grand scheme of things. And when you go from 2.8 million to 5.2 million, that's a
Big jump.
2.4 million difference.
Yeah.
A project this size, I mean, if the bids were within 500,000, I would still think that's a pretty good jump, but I would call that acceptable in my mind. But it makes me wonder what someone is missing, or what, I mean, that's like if you build a $300,000 house, you can expect $80,000 difference if you call 3 contractors. But, you know, are you gonna, in a $300,000 house, are you gonna see $700,000 difference?
Well, the animal shelter was exact the same way.
You see how it turned out?
Well,
There was a lot of,
It was a bouncy road, but I'm proud of our end product.
well, I'm glad that we got, but still,
I think we say this is like, you know, if we go down that road again, we still might be happy with the end product, but you know, how do you budget for that?
Well, you know, these companies that bid the 5 million, if you look at their bids, that one that bid the highest, everything was on allowance. Everything, the bid, it was just an allowance, 12,000 for this, 15,000 for that, 400,000 for site work. Everything was on allowance. Well, that doesn't mean anything, you know, they didn't want it, they didn't want to bid on it. You know, they just bid on it because they thought, well, we might get it, you know. And, they didn't break their bids down or anything, so they're just out in left field, in my opinion. You know. They didn't want to bid on it anyway, probably.
if you had like one in left field, I agree with you, because people do that, throw it out there, well, if they hire me, I'm gonna make a good lick, but, I mean, you still got 5.2, 3.9, 4.5, those are, I don't think there was 3 of them that just threw out. you're talking a $3 million project, if you're, you know, 900,000 difference, that's still a lot, but I could see it, you know, some people's overhead are different, but
Well, we got two of the lowest bids, you know, 2.8 and 2.9,
so they're
so
real comparable.
they're close, and that's really all, only two we need to
Well,
look at.
you know, talk about, you know, front buildings, you know, 2.2, whole thing's 2.8, but, you know, when you're gonna have 2.3, you know, $500,000, that's just building both at the same time.
Mike, on that? All right,
And just be done with, because when you do that, then you're gonna do the front one, you're gonna finish the road and everything, then you're gonna destroy the road and do the second building later.
Here's the whole project. Where I was going with what I was saying, to try to cheapen this down and then put a value on what we're gonna have when we get done. Again, that additional 100 and some feet of road over here where my finger is. Okay, we build this front building, and if we totally excluded the kitchen is down here. I almost bet you could cut 100 grand off of anybody's bid.
But you also limit, I mean, a kitchen's a big deal when people are renting a facility
Well,
to have,
It ain't as important as I used to think it is. Because a lot of people
I don't
cater
think I've
to.
ever been to a facility like that that didn't have a kitchen.
I agree with you, Dan, but I agree with Scott too. A lot of times you see them kitchens and it don't look like they've ever been used. But in that same sense, if I'm gonna spend 2.7 million and it's $100,000 difference, I want the kitchen.
yeah, you got.
And if you're talking about cutting 500,000 out of something,
All right, we're talking about.
The bids on the kitchen, the bids on the kitchen appliances, I think WPC said it did $70,000 for the, that was $42,000 for the appliances and the cat. And then another $17,000 as far as the pressure to it, so you got $57,000. That's what we would save if we didn't do the kitchen.
well, probably,
If you don't
you
do the
save a couple
kitchen,
dollars on your plumbing and stuff like that.
well, the thing about it is, you know, are you gonna put a kitchen in here and not put plumbing in for it later on?
Yeah, Dawn, it needs to be,
You know,
groundwork needs to be in it. I agree.
and then if you do that, then the inspectors are not gonna pass it, because say, if it looks like a duct, it's a duct, it's a kitchen, you're gonna put a kitchen in later after you get all your inspections done, you know, and we're not gonna allow that. So you almost have to not do anything with the kitchen completely, eliminate it altogether, the walls and everything, and plumbing, to save $60,000.
By the agreement with the farmer's market, we have to have freezers and refrigerators.
But anyway,
We don't have to right now. We don't have to right now.
we're not gonna save enough by eliminating the kitchen to make it
Still this money.
back, you know.
Well, it's not just the kitchen. By building the second building, let's say we're gonna save 100 grand in blacktop and earthwork. Because we'll have another portion that's covered in this bid that we won't have to do. See, everything we're doing out on the road right now is on our dime. And then when we turn right and go onto our 5 acres, that'll be on our dime until we meet up with whatever we pay to get built.
Not correct. That road is included in his bids, all the way back to the road we're building now. You're sure? On the WPC, I asked him that specifically. He said, yes, the road is blacktop, all the way back to the new road we're building.
But that's only if we build the whole thing. It's not included in just the front
Well,
building.
I don't know, his bid is,
Well, if he's got the road in there, if we take this building out or don't, it doesn't change the road.
Well, but,
It don't matter.
see, I'm pretty sure if we just go with the front building,
Why would they not still build this road?
no, well, the road's over on this side.
Well, whatever.
But they'll be done with the footprint of this building. They're not gonna go from here to there.
Well, if that's in their process.
no, it is, Scott. You know,
I hope you're right.
Actually, personally, yesterday.
I don't have a clue, I'm just saying, if they had the road figured and you took this building out, this road and the building should not be figured together.
I've read this 5 or 6 times, I'll read it another time. Because I don't think it's spelled out that they gotta build a road to our existing road.
Well, I think we can get that in writing.
Additional $677,000.
You told me over the phone that it did.
I just think it's smart to do all the site work at one time.
And the thing about, if we build the front building now, okay, we do everything Scott said, okay, we got the front building.
What size
When we come back to build the back building later on,
It's
125 to 80, just calculate.
it's got about $600,000 to build that back building in these deals for the solar pack.
677,000 for the lowest bid.
So if we don't build that second building now for $600,000, whatever it is now, and get it all done, then later on down the road, when we build this building, what's it gonna cost? We gotta get in there and dig our parking lot back up, or whatever we gotta do to build this building. And it's gonna cost us $1 million to do that one now.
Well, it's gonna cost, yeah, right now, the bids for the back building alone are 1.2 million, 1.3 almost.
For the back?
Yeah.
All right,
Building 3, oh, we're wrecking both buildings, okay, roof on the, okay.
okay, on the rules that everybody bid on, I'm right and I'm wrong. On number 2, the second bid that includes only the front building, inside and out, including all parking areas and sidewalks only. Doesn't say streets.
That's for the front building.
That's the second bid will include, okay, then it says, let's see, in the first, hold on, it says streets. I read streets. Okay, number 4. In the first comprehensive bid, all parking lots and streets will be asphalt with compacted rock, with fabric to industry construction standards. All areas will be striped and signage in place. So that is only on the first comprehensive bid that they gotta build the streets.
Does it say that first comprehensive bid?
Yes. In the first comprehensive bid, all parking lots and streets will be asphalt and compacted.
Okay, does it
All
say,
right, well,
The
first,
second
other than
bid-
going back and forth about it, just say worst case scenario, you gotta build that road, you can figure what you're saying.
Well, I'm trying to put value, my whole argument is I'm trying to put value in doing the whole project. And I know the whole project includes the street.
yes.
This looks bad.
He's got court.
Okay, all right.
We have a docket on Tuesday.
I got you. We're good. All right. I'm sorry, go ahead, Jim.
Well, I think Jim's trying to put value in the same thing you are.
Yeah, I think we are.
I say you build it all or you don't do it.
I agree. I think, when we were talking about money that we budgeted for this project, and if you remember just a few meetings ago, when we were doing the budget, for next year, the judge had included $1 million for capital improvements. And remember, I said, well, if $1 million is not gonna touch this project, we need to have more in that line item, the, capital project. So we put $2 million in there. That's just budgeted number, it's an arbitrary number, we could put 2.5 in there if we wanted to, if we had it. So, just because we've got budgeted $2 million for this project, doesn't mean that's where we have to stay.
So I
I remember 8 months ago, somebody sitting here saying, do y'all think you're actually ready to spend $3 million? And everyone said it won't cost $3 million.
Yep.
I said that.
Well, you
We go
said
back
it was
meetings.
gonna cost $1 million to do the site work.
I said the project will cost $3 million.
And half, it only took half that,
I remember-
biggest price.
Whenever you said it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was $100,000 off, fellas.
No,
Well,
we
so
got
I got-
we got 300,000 of farmer's market money, and then if we can get them cut down to 2.5,
Well,
or 2.5 instead of 3.
I got a few things to say. One thing I mean is I think if you could do the whole thing, just do the whole thing, wham, bam, just be done with it. Listen, second thing is, I want to know how much money that we got in the bank, because I don't think that we should do it if it's gonna leave us broke. And thirdly, I don't think I'm in favor of borrowing money for it. And the fourth thing is with this bid, what is the projected estimate of overrun?
Overrun.
Like with the animal shelter, like we're talking
We're gonna have easily have.
20% is,
We're gonna have 150, 200,000 in the, get the road and the water over there, or less. That's a big number.
Fill that whole road full of shot rock there.
Yeah, I'm gonna discuss that, we can have that shot rock.
well, I'm just saying, like, I really wanna do it, but I think it should be done all, because the thing is, it's like, you know, if you go into business, you won't buy a truck, trailer, so you go out and you buy a truck, but you can't afford a trailer right then, you say, well, I'll buy the trailer later, well, then you're like, well, now I can't buy the trailer because now I'm too broke on truck payments, you know? Either you got the money to do it or you don't. It's going business or you don't. I don't think it's smart for us to eliminate a full, you know, where we don't have a rainy day fund in the bank for the county. That's something will happen, or if we have another big storm come through, we gotta spend the money and feed the dragger and feed without paying for it like on Murray Road. I don't think we should burden the county with years of payments, for something that's more of a want than just so a need, but if we can find the money to do it, then, you know, but would you, and the last concern is, I think we really need to be concerned about, I know the animal shelter went over quite considerably, you know, I think, and we, you know, this is on a scale, you know.
3 times that price.
Right, so I mean, should we expect 3 times this up of overages? I mean, you go over by 20%, you're talking $600,000.
Well, now, in the whole scheme of things, the animal shelter, and y'all tell me I'm wrong or agree with me. The biggest overage was when we did the kennel and stuff outside. That was not originally in the original bid. So I don't count that. That was 50, 60,000. Now, anything that, the original bid was 528, and then we spent that 50, 60,000 to do the outdoor kennels in addition to what we originally did. If you put that to the side, what we spent over and above that was not that much
We also put in that HVAC system for that back.
in the back. And then look at all the money we saved by doing that back ring ourselves.
Well, then the question, does anybody see anything that's not included? You know,
Septic system. Sewer is not on here. You all are saying sewer.
Yeah.
They're wanting to annex that road. We don't got a sewer system down there. Are they gonna annex our building? We just built, cost them $3 million into their system? Or we gonna put a septic system in until we get something
I
out?
don't have it in writing, but they said they would take the sewer. All we have to do is put a pump here, we can pump it over somewhere.
Harold Compton said out of his mouth, that if we don't put that road into their spec, we're not getting water and we're not getting sewer out of his mouth.
Well, he might be wrong.
I'm just saying,
Yeah, he's just, I mean,
and we don't have it in writing, we don't have
And
anything.
you're right,
I
Zach.
mean, he ain't the boss, but technically, usually he's the one who pulls the strings.
There's 5 individuals that'll change his mind.
Well, that could be,
Or
could be too.
a majority of 5 individuals will change his mind. A majority of 5 individuals.
Listen,
But I agree with you.
I'm the boss of my house as long as my wife ain't there.
We-
So
We'll
it's like,
just assume that we're gonna have sewer line, I think even one of them said within 50 feet of the building, okay? So we're gonna have a sewer line within 50 feet and domestic water line within 50 feet of that building, so all they gotta do is tie into it,
Well, who do you think's gonna pay to run that line with that 50 foot of the building?
the city.
No.
No.
It's their line.
All right, but you think the city pays to put all them new development sewers in?
No,
Why would they do it? To run sewer to our, you call it our development, not development. Why would they run it to our?
because
We're gonna put
they're
that.
planning on annexing.
All right, so you're gonna let them run the line and annex that building? If you're not, then we're gonna pay to run that 6-inch sewer line and that pump all the way to where, all the way to the end of the new road we're building.
well, the annexation part, if they decide they're gonna annex it, they're gonna annex it. When we put the sewer in or they put the sewer in,
They're not gonna put the sewer in no matter what.
Unless they change their mind.
are you saying that they're not?
Unless, because that building is going to, everything else they build on that property, that building is going to affect everything else they build on that property. If you build restaurants out there and stuff, that building,
The city don't care.
they do care, because they know that's the last piece of property they can annex to make money off of.
It ain't the last piece they can annex.
They're
Well,
not
but
gonna,
it's the last one they can annex to make
Well,
money
maybe
off
that's
of.
it.
That's what, they've said that in their
They're not
meetings
gonna build
several
this.
times.
I'd
We
be
could
willing to
put
wager
in a
whatever y'all
septic
want.
tank here for probably 20-25,000, right? I know you can,
I don't know what they're gonna
for
refer
this type of capacity,
Probably so.
because I paid for a up to 300 capacity septic tank, and I didn't spend 20,000. Did I get a good deal? I feel like I got a good deal, but.
Well, I was kind of under the impression, and maybe I'm thinking wrong, but I was kind of under the impression that the city would probably annex us anyway, so they have the next adjacent property to keep going on across Wayne Squeeze's bottom as it becomes
Well,
developed.
I think, I will advocate to this body that they do not annex our property at all until they lift their finger and help support
But
our
can we,
construction.
but can we
Just
stop?
by state statute.
It's by state statute, but it's based on.
Right.
You know what I'd love to
Legal.
see?
Law doesn't.
I'd love to see the city and us do
They
this
can't just
together,
say
and
we
we
want
call
it.
it an annex.
I'd love that.
Let's split the cost down the middle, they
I'd
can
love
annex it when we get done.
Now you talking,
In
Will.
reality.
I agree.
In reality, they can't.
Well,
I'm just saying.
and if we do that, then
So that we-
this building,
Well,
this
yeah,
complex will
we've
be
seen the sewer
a
board,
revenue
we've spent this money on
increase
sewer plant.
for the county. We're gonna make money on this building.
And we won't put
after
sewer
it's all
down
said and done. So do we want to split that
Stop
half and
that.
half with the
We're
city?
doing that. They can't put
It
sewer
is
over
our
there. They
project,
can't
let's
put
do it
sewer over
ourselves.
there. Why would they annex?
Have them to do whatever
Right.
they
I
can.
think that's probably accurate. You have to look at the annexation stuff.
All right, so I'm asking legal over here about this annexation stuff that y'all were talking about. So, you know, we spent the money and we put this sanitation district in place and we bought this sewer plant and we're
Yes.
adding sewer.
Yes.
But right now, we're building almost $3 million complex down here, and we're gonna say we're gonna tie us into the city sewer. Why? Why are we doing that? Why are we not spending the money and putting it on the septic system, and then waiting until we have our sewer system in place? We've spent this money and we've made this investment into.
Yeah. That, what you just said, we can have done in 2 years.
Exactly.
Well,
In 2
so
years.
my only caveat to that is, so what happens if we build this? We put in $25,000-$30,000 septic system, and then the city says, well, we're gonna annex it anyways, and make you tie on our sewer.
Well, we will
They can't.
somehow
They
have to
can't?
battle that.
If we
Well,
got
we're
our
hoping that
sewer
they won't.
system set up and I've got our facility plan and everything set up, it kinda locks in our territory once again.
So if
That's
we're
the
already,
reason we made that investment out there. That's the reason we made that big jump, if y'all remember those.
well, yeah, because we had hopes of coming this way with our deal.
I think the 2 year thing, Joe, that's like $8 million to make it to the.
Well, what you're saying is if we're compliant, and we're already on a system, they can't make us slip on the system?
No. Out here, on the pump station, Elk Creek in 2 years.
Right now, we don't have to hook on to it, because there's not wanting anything close to it.
But I'm saying if-
They'll get state money.
If they decide to annex it and run it past us, and now it's there, does that make it where we have to tie on?
Well, but you brought up about the territory. Right now, there's a collection of folks at the city that will say, that's our territory, it ain't yours. When you look at the facility plan, yes, the facility plan is spelled out from 20-some years ago, that's the 201 boundary out there at that area. That means they are supposed to serve that with sewer. Here we sit today, ain't no sewer there. So they're gonna have to change what they've been doing. Or in the meantime, our sanitation district has already sent, they got a WRS grant. It's already at the Division of Water. They're already reviewing it. We have a new facility plan that we presented that says the entire county is in our boundary except what the city currently serves.
Currently serves.
So if the city were to expand the line, and I welcome you guys, I welcome you, expand your line and see what kind of economic growth that we get. So, but if they were to come to us and say, we'll serve it for you, we can work all these details out. I don't want to fight them over who, this territory or that territory. Let's provide services. You know, we in the service business. We ain't in the petty, fighting, stupid business. So, but the Division of Water, I was sitting there and heard with my own ears. They said, you all send the facility plan up here, we're gonna approve it. That if another facility plan comes up here, we're gonna approve it. So I kinda took that as, is it a race? Who gets a plan up here quicker? I don't know. But all I do know is, we have invested $50,000 in a new facility plan that will include that area.
And it'll likely be decided before the end of the year.
So-
Well, let me ask this,
But you need, on your sprinkler system question from earlier, we need clarification on the size of your building, because it looks like to us, just on a brief glance, 5,000 square feet is gonna require a fire suppression system.
I don't agree with that.
Well, that's fine, but that's what the code
No.
says.
That's what?
That's what the code
See, you
says.
got a
Well-
state code and you got an IBC code. And what you printed was the IBC code.
Sprinkler guy I'm talking to, the big sprinkler guy, does all the rescue utilities in the local area, and does all the big shopping malls in Louisville. I mean,
Yeah, Eddie Mayer?
Yes.
Yep.
I'm talking to him right now on the phone, and he's saying the same thing.
It's-
What?
What that sprinkler system?
Group A1, an automatic sprinkler system shall be provided throughout the fire areas containing Group A1 occupancies where the following conditions exist. The fire area exceeds 12,000 feet, that's the Group A1. A2, automatic sprinkler system shall be provided throughout fire areas containing Group A2 occupancies where one of the following conditions exist. The fire area exceeds 5,000 square feet, or the fire area has an occupant load of 300 or more.
Okay, in group A1, occupancy, 903.211, it says fire area, this is, an automatic sprinkler system is to be provided and intervening force if the fire area exceeds 12,000
That's
square feet.
group
Or
A1.
12,000 square foot.
That's if we can get an A1 rate determination.
Well, then the A1,
You also gotta have a movie theater.
we're not a movie theater.
Well, then you won't make A1.
Well,
Sorry.
y'all do it.
I think it's an important question for you to consider, just because it is
What's this
Added
considered?
cost.
This is a
right,
theater.
a huge added cost.
Good, I mean, y'all kept saying that.
I mean,
A theater, it says in the code, a theater is fixed seating. We don't have fixed seating. Now, you
Yes, fixed
look at it,
space.
it says fixed seating.
I think I remember reading about that. Now, Will just made a good point, is this, okay, the inspectors, they're like anyone else, they've got rules that they've got to go by, and then they have calls that they can make to make adjustments. This could actually, with the stage, could be a theater. So,
It doesn't have fixed seats though.
well, you might have some fixed seats. Where?
We'll screw them in there.
Screw them along the wall. Screw them along the wall.
Another issue that we haven't talked about, if we do not do the back building, okay? The back building now, on the plans, shows 1,250 square foot of storage area, two different places, 625 in each corner, enclosed with doors and electricity in it, okay? Now, we're gonna have some sort of storage facility for this complex, close, for chairs, tables, whatever that has to be moved in and out of that, just like any other venue we have. So we gotta have, so if we don't do the back building, then we lose our storage. And then we're gonna have to build a 30 by 40, 1,200 square foot metal building or whatever at a cost of what? 75, 80,000 to store stuff in. So,
well, these plans were drawn up for both buildings complement each other.
they do.
You know, and
I mean, that's big.
that goes off what I said, is you do it or you don't.
I mean, where we're at, we need that much building.
I kind of feel that we do.
Yeah.
I had a guy, I'm not gonna say his name here in the meeting, but all of us know him well, we all respect him. He caught me on the street the other day, and he's lived in the community, he's involved in the community. He said, y'all need to buy more land, you need to think bigger. And I was thinking, that's all I think we can do to do what we got.
Can't think of what about now?
And he said, you'll never get, that land's for sale, when it's sold, you'll never be able to get it. And I kept pitching the idea back to him that, I
Did
think.
you tell them we take charitable donations?
Well, they got it. When I say they, he knows lots of people, but nonetheless, he's trying to forward think. And he was applauding what we're doing. He just said, you need to make it big enough to last 50 years. And I totally agree, and I think
We'll put his name on it.
I think we all agree that the community has needed this for 20-plus years. And he wanted to make sure that in 50 years from now, they look back and we got it big enough. But I think if we pull this off, it'll take us long into the
Well, you can
future.
always make it bigger in the future by enclosing
The back
part of the
building.
back building. I
Yeah.
mean, that's,
And then there's still room to build more.
yeah.
I mean, 6.63 acres is a lot of land
Are we
in the city.
going
limits.
to vote today? We're not, obviously, we're not gonna vote to approve one of these. Are we gonna
We're
vote
gonna vote on
to,
something, but I don't know what it is.
I don't think we're gonna
I think what I'd
vote on
like
it.
to do is let Doug, crunch the numbers for us, you know. It's 2.8,
It's 2.536 if you take the 300,000 from the farmer's money.
well, anyway, the bid on here is 2.8, the lowest bid we've got.
So you gotta figure that.
So,
number out.
Doug, how much money do we have in CDs or whatever, in lines that we could put forward towards this building?
2.7 million.
2.7.
Is there money in a line item for the road we're building behind Country Mart right now or no?
Probably not. Well,
Some,
we'd
not
have
none?
to be finding it, yeah. Not this budget year, but next budget year,
so,
Yeah, but it's not budgeted, we didn't approve that, we don't have that in a line item for next year's budget.
so we have 2.7 million
in CDs right now.
CDs right now, but I wouldn't,
What other money you
What
got?
other money we got left
I would only.
for a rainy day fund?
That's what I'm getting at.
That's
Like how much money you got?
That's it.
2.7 million is also included in our surplus money that we budgeted
In our what?
5 million or whatever.
Well, you got to explain what that actually means.
Slush fund?
I mean,
Well,
Are you saying if you spent 2.7 million, you would
You'd be
have
broke.
$1 in the bank?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
So if we spend 2.7 million, how much money do we have left over in our budget total that we could have for a rainy day fund or whatever? Emergency fund, that's the question I ask.
How much money is left in all the other line items is what you're asking?
That we can transfer out of into, you know.
See, most of our money is not sitting in the bank, it's coming in the mail this year. I mean, it's hard to grasp, but I mean, us being self-employed, y'all know what it is. I spend money all year and I get paid when I sell grain. You all do jobs, you get paid when you get them done. Go ahead, Jim. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, right now, our cash balance at the end of May, the general fund is 3.7 million, you might as well say. We budgeted 3.5 million when we did the budget. So technically, if you look at the end of May, we got 200,000 over what.
The budgeted money.
Oh,
is-
so we do have 200,000 we can spend for other projects along the way,
Yeah.
right
So-
now. Now, you gotta remember, last 2 years, we had,
We're not done with June yet either, time we pay our insurance and different
Yeah.
things like that.
But, you know, we had a budget amendment of almost $1 million for the last 2 years
Extra.
of extra money that we didn't anticipate. So, you know,
You can't count your chickens before
goes
they
to show
hatch.
you, that's gonna, next year we'll do the same thing. We'll have $1 million to reinvest more than what we got now.
So,
Hopefully.
what, I know, Mike, you said you didn't want to borrow the money, but I know that we can get very cheap loans.
Well, it ain't as cheap as what you think, 5%.
And, well, I think,
That's if you stretch yourself for 20 years.
yeah, but you don't have to stretch it out for 20 years. I mean, if we have $1 million additional, you know, income, then you pay the loan off. You don't have to carry the loan for the entirety, and then you save yourself money on all the interest. I mean,
And we did that in our last quarter, paid off the debt down to 0, just because we had the money to do it with. Even though one interest, it was
and that's
interest
the
free.
thing,
Zero
you know,
interest,
so if the payments, like I know we got a $33,000 payment right now, but, okay, so we've got extra money, let's pay twice that every month, and then their loan's only gonna.
Well, the reason I presented this was just for consideration that if we did borrow, let's say we borrowed $1 million for 20 years, then we would have a debt obligation of $87,000, and we would have $1 million still in our budget for that rainy day.
Let me ask you this, when we did the animal
Well,
shelter.
right now, we
were
got
they doing-
budgeted 2 million.
Yeah, for the building of this.
Yeah. But if it's depending on what the cost is, if we borrow the
You might as
million.
well say $3 million.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
Of our own money, don't think about the farmer's market, because I just soon play it. Plenty safe. That
Farmer's
gives you
market
six-
doesn't cover what you
That gives you
go
600,000, I would feel comfortable saying that we could be off.
because you might need farmer's market money to put in a fire suppression system.
Well, yeah, I mean.
Well, we're gonna know the answer to that before I ever vote,
Right.
yea or nay.
I agree, I agree with what he said, we need to get a definite answer on that, or the bidder needs to be sure enough that they'll eat it if it has to come.
Okay, well, let me throw this out then, for time's sake. Why don't we rebid it? And I'll put everything back together and make the changes we want to change.
What changes are we taking?
Well, I don't know, that's what we're gonna talk about, what we want to add, say, make sure that you put in your bid that if we have to have a sprinkler system, it's covered under your bid. That's the big thing right
Or have
now.
a fire suppression clause that costs this if needed.
Make sure your bid includes, if you don't think you're gonna, don't include it, And they're both telling me, GMS and Doug White said, no, you do not have to have a sprinkler system.
The experience that I have, and I suggested to Jim, let's rebid it, but not build the kitchen. Because I totally think that the kitchen is gonna make us do a sprinkler. If you ain't got the kitchen, then there's a chance it won't happen.
Well, Cheryl said if it's 5,000 square foot. you
Well,
have to have it.
I know she can read the law, I can read the law, she'll understand it better than me. I'm telling you what the man that comes out in the white truck is gonna tell you.
Well, we need to know what that man's gonna tell us before.
Well, I tried to get him to tell me what he would.
I don't know that you need to rebid it. We need to get the answers. Go up there to the state, give them the plans.
The whole thing about it is, whoever gets the bid's got to put their plan together, take it to the state.
I feel like if we rebid it,
Somebody can look at the plans and say you need it or you don't.
if we rebid it, now y'all hear me out and then shoot me down or agree with me. We rebid it, one option. The one option is the whole project, just as before, exclude the kitchen. Rebid it.
What about just
And-
excluding the stove and the fryer and that, anything that's gonna create a fire hazard, that's gonna make them put in a sprinkler? Because you still wanna have the coolers and all that. I mean,
Cabinetry and
We're talking here, but we still don't know whether the kitchen requires a sprinkler system.
Well,
A2, do you
I know.
wanna know what A2 is?
It'll
A2
least-
is
it'll
banquet
least
halls,
require a suppression.
casinos, dance halls, nightclubs, restaurants, cafeterias, or similar dining facilities, including associated commercial kitchens, taverns, and bars. That's what's under A2.
If we call this a church, we're exempt from a lot of stuff, but we can't call it a church.
As a county, I think we have a problem with that, but yes.
Yeah, but
You would exactly be right there.
So if we're gonna rebid it, I would say, don't take the whole kitchen out, because there's a lot of stuff in there you're gonna need. But if you just take out the stove, the oven, the fryer, things that are, the fire suppression hood, then
What's the point of rebidding it if we don't know 100% sure that
well,
we have to have it or don't have to have
when
it?
we rebid it, we put in the rebid
is it one
that,
with kitchen, one without?
No, he's talking about
Just-
fire suppression. He's gonna have.
We need to-
Specifically ask the question in the bid, does this project call for a sprinkler system? Yes, no.
Well, you done said they said no, so if we award a bid to one of these people, we're obviously gonna sign a contract. You can tell them, and make sure in your contract it says no fire suppression.
It'd be on them.
Or if it does,
Yeah,
then
that's
they're
what
gonna
I'm
eat
saying.
it.
You don't have to rebid it to do that.
yeah, well,
Just needs to be put in the contract. We're not changing no prices or nothing.
I
They
don't-
both already said you don't need it, so
All right,
if they feel that way, they'll put it in the contract.
another option. Why can't we get these two companies to come here and us ask them questions and let them explain to us how they put their bid together and what it includes?
That doesn't mean I trust it.
I don't know that we can
they both agreed to do that.
I don't think.
Can we pick 2 out of 6 and pinpoint them, Cheryl, legally?
We got the 2 lowest bids.
I think you can have people invited to come tell you how they did their bids.
At our discretion, we can choose who we want?
Well, you've narrowed it down to your 2 lowest bids.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'm good with that.
I'm just like Wheel, I think you'll have to revisit it, talk to them. We done, you done asked the question, they done both said they ain't gotta have it. I say you put it in the contract, if you're gonna move forward with it, move forward with it.
Well, then, okay, let's move forward.
Did you not
What we
ask
got.
them? You said you talked to both of them. Both of them said no, correct?
I got an email from them, that says,
All right, well, if that's in their contract.
you know, it says, in our professional opinion, we do not need it.
So let me ask you this, guys. So let's say, you know, that they put in the contract that it's not needed.
I think we need to do our own thing.
But if it turns out that the guy from the state goes, well, I don't give a shit what's in their contract, it's needed, then I think it's gonna be.
It's on them.
I mean, what are they gonna do? They go look and say, sorry, guys, I guess we're just gonna leave it unfinished and you ain't gonna get an occupancy sticker.
Have we asked the state fire marshal?
He'll refer you to this guy at housing.
So, I mean, if you're gonna put it in the contract, put it in the contract tight enough to say, you're saying that it does, or, you know, that you're saying that it doesn't need it, but if it turns out that it does, we don't want it, but if it turns out it's required, you're gonna pay for it,
Well, the thing about it is.
at no additional cost.
If they give us a bid, and it says in their contract that it is not needed, then if it is needed, then it's on them.
But we probably have to spell that out.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying, spell that out.
It needs spelled out or it'll just be another change order.
It'd be a change order.
Yes.
Yeah, just saying, it's not gonna be a change order, it's gonna be, you're gonna do what it needs to do to make it, you know,
Well,
get that
the
occupancy.
thing about it is, we can agree to vote on, to do this today, the project, with the 2 bids we got, because both of them are saying they don't require sprinklers. So that's gonna be in their contract. And if it comes to be, when they send all that information to Frankfurt, yeah, you gotta have a sprinkler system, well, guess what? That's not a change of work order. You know, that's on you, you bid it. You're the one that said it didn't need sprinklers, not on us.
What's y'all's opinion of, and the reason I keep pushing on the rebidding, is that we rebid it because we want to try to get the cost down.
I mean,
And I think some of them would be cheaper.
You might shave, like you said, you might shave 100,000 off of this thing, but kitchen and kitchen out of it, but I mean, once you cut an entire half of the building off, if you cut something major, you're not gonna save enough off of it.
I think if you rebid it, you cut enough out of it to save what you wanna save, then it ain't gonna be worth building what you wanna build.
Was something whited out on the GMS on fire protection?
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, it was wiped out. That's how we got it.
Okay.
It came that way. I got the original here, and the whiteout, I think, is on
Is
it.
on it as well?
Yeah, well, it's actually on what we got, and then that's a copy of it.
At this point, I mean, I'm gonna kind of just make them draw up in the contract, they're gonna eat it if it needs it, but I'm still concerned about the money aspect.
Well, and I feel the only way to get the money cheaper is we gotta rebid it.
Well, let me ask you this,
Yeah, but what? The kitchen's not gonna take the money.
I know this is gonna be, I know this might be an unpopular
Are you good
opinion,
with 2.9 and not 3?
but you said a lot of our money's gonna come in the mail this year.
Yes.
This coming year. We still got 2.7 in CDs collecting money. What if we push this off 8 months?
We need to build this. We're gonna die, we're all gonna die one day if the good Lord don't come back.
You know, this
I'm getting
project
older every day.
this project probably won't be done at the end of our terms if we vote to do it today. That's a year and a half.
Well, let's say you borrow 1.7 million for, and you pay it off in 10 years. What are you gonna spend in interest on it?
5%.
Yeah, but that's amortized, and you don't know.
I know
You're paying extra on the principal.
You know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What do you look, I mean,
Well, I mean, you can look on that sheet, if you, like, if you borrow $1 million for 20 years, you're gonna pay 1.709.
oh,
Yeah, and then 25 years, you're gonna pay 1.9.
Did the bid documents require them to bid on a fire protection system or not?
No,
I'm
Then
saying,
I don't think that they're obligated.
to be,
If the bid request for proposals included a bid for fire protection system, then I think you could say they would be obligated to provide it. If the bid request for proposal did not require that, then they could make the argument, we didn't bid on that because you didn't have it in your
Even
request
if
for
they sign
proposal.
their contract
If their
says,
contract says
Okay.
that it would be included and that they would be obligated if required, that's fine. But if we didn't require them to bid on that aspect, then I don't think that they're, without that in a contract, I don't think they bid on it
I agree
necessarily.
100%.
Well,
But all I'm saying, other than
we
rebidding
did-
it, if, you know,
Correct.
Jim has talked to
You
him.
could
just
put it in
through
a
words.
contract, absolutely, it could be in their contract, but if it's not in their contract, then I think they would have the argument, you didn't have it in your bid request,
For sure.
it's gonna be a change order.
Well, I was looking for a line that says all buildings, kind of like we've done on the breweries and wineries.
Mhm.
If it had a line in here that says, all building, mechanical functions must meet state code. If
And
that-
I would include fire,
Well,
yeah, I would specifically include it though, if you put it right out for bid, because you can see on GMS, they whited it out specifically.
Yes. Well, I was looking on.
Now
the-
Marion included it in theirs, but they also have a much higher bid, so they may have been more inclusive than what they were including in their bid. I think to be on the safe side, you either have to have it in the contract or in your request for bids if you wanna hold to it.
That's why I would like to rebid it, and we could include that.
So when you include it and they put the price in there, then you're just paying for the fire suppression?
Even if you don't need it.
Yeah.
No, we are including
Then it
that.
still has to be in the contract. If they don't need it,
Yes.
It must meet, we're not saying you got to have it, we're saying you got to put it in if you got to have it.
Right.
Well, but if they bid it, $250,000, we're gonna put it in, whether it's needed, whether we need it or not, whether it's in their bid. Or we got language in there that says, if the state does not require a sprinkler system, you knock off what you did for that sprinkler.
You have to knock off
To do
that.
that, we'd have to rebid.
then you're opening yourself up. If they'll sign a contract right now, they're professionals. They do this every day, I'm sure. If they will sign a contract right now that says you don't have to have it, leave it alone.
I see what you're saying, I see what you're saying, I mean, if
We're
we're
trying to
ready,
get someone on the hook, but I don't know.
Yeah,
If they do it every day and say you don't need it, tell them that's fine, we trust you, put it in writing.
Okay, we'll do this, there's another, we're having our next meeting next month,
yeah,
all right? Between now and then, let us get in contact, and then get in contact with both these companies, and specifically by email where it's on paper, saying, you know, does your bid include sprinkler systems for this, does it, blah, 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 will you? And see what they come back with in their next meeting, then we'll talk.
Cheryl, is it okay that we vote today to narrow our bids down to two? And then we quiz the two equally, equitably, we get these
Well, you're not giving
details.
the other four that option then.
What's that?
Are you not gonna give the other four that option?
No, can we do that? That's my question to you.
I would think that we could, just because we eliminated them, do the price.
Do the price.
It says in our bid package that any and all bids can be
Rejected.
rejected.
Sure.
Well, that was in our advertisement.
Yes.
So if you rejected 4 or however many it is now, you can talk to the other 2.
Talk to the other two.
I don't know, you could, or hell, if it's conflict, if you think it is, you can invite everyone to come.
Well, I'm trying to narrow it down to these
Well,
two,
that'd be
because
an iron
I would like to get the sprinkler ironed down, and I want to get a time definite of completion.
Yeah, let's throw another ball in there.
Well,
Well, that needs to be in there. This project can't take 5 years.
correct.
Oh, I know it, but you know.
There needs to be penalties if it goes past X,
Yeah.
Y, Z.
Yeah, we need to spell out a completion time.
And not to change it, but I'm gonna revert back to the thing, so that you still gotta decide, are you gonna build it and be completely freaking broke? Or are you gonna build it and be just a shade above completely freaking broke, but you're gonna pay away $700,000 in interest?
Well,
Neither one of those sound
appealing.
Well, and I'm looking at it like this, right? Either way, we're gonna have to slow down on other spending. And I know
Here's the thing,
I know that Brian wants another tractor,
Well, here's the thing.
you know, there's 50 grand.
We got the ambulance we still got to pay for.
And we got an ambulance we still gotta pay for.
It's already in the budget for them.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're taking
Well,
everything.
they're talking about needing to remount another one now too, so I mean,
Well, that's down the road.
yeah, I know,
That's
but
down
I
the road.
mean, we're gonna need more sheriff cars in the future. We're
Well, I'm
gonna
just
need,
saying, if you gonna do this, you
we're gonna
gonna,
need blacktopping more roads. I mean, there's a lot of things that,
you got 18 months here, you know, we're gonna, it's like if I buy something with my house or whatever, you know, we're gonna buy a new camper or whatever, and we got like 18 months, whatever, we gotta live tight. And we gotta all agree that if we're gonna do this, everything else in the county's gonna tighten up for a few months. And we all have to be on board with that, because we can't keep spending like we're spending and do this.
All right, we've been here 2.5 years, all of us. You got another term on us, the rest of us are all the same. We've been here 2.5 years. We have grown, even though we lost all that to Shelby County, we have grown more than enough to make these payments. And I don't see that growth going away. Right out to Goebels over and look at all that new construction going on.
There's 13 houses sitting there for sale,
Well, houses are selling.
not out there, they're not.
Well,
They're every day.
Well, they're still building them.
they're still building them.
It's slowed down a bunch too.
And, but I mean, we will have, with the reassessments, with the insurance premium tax alone, those two right there will make any of these payments.
So,
I mean, we put, the last court didn't have money in interest-bearing accounts. We just put our money in interest-bearing checking accounts. And then we put the 2 million in the CDs. That 2 million has already turned into 2,196,000. It gained 196,000 just because we took it out of the checking account and put it in a CD. Now, it ain't gonna gain 196,000 after we spend it. But it's sitting there and it has gained 196,000. And this is the wrong way to look at it, but $2 million, if you did a 25-year loan, the debt service is 153,000. Now, granted, we're not gonna make 196,000 because the interest rates changed. But it made enough to make the debt payment. And I mean, you know, you gotta look at this like we're not buying an automobile, we're buying a farm. When you buy a farm or a home, you aiming to have that farm or have that home until you die. That's the investment we're making here. You know, we're not buying a fancy pair of shoes or a new car. We're buying something that'll be here for eternity.
And you know, the whole thing about this $2.7 million we've got, what if we didn't have it? We wouldn't even be talking about this. This 2.7 came from COVID money, okay? And it was set aside by the previous court to do this project, okay? And we got $2.7 million, it's gonna cost us 2.8 to do it all as it stands right now. We can do it just because of the increase in revenue coming up in the next year, 2, 3 years in the increase in property taxes, the number of, every time a house is built in this county, and they buy a building permit, they go buy insurance, and they do this and this, the county gets another portion of that. And there's houses being built, not just everywhere, right around the county. There's spot houses here, 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 not just in the subdivisions.
But you're saying, so, make sure I'm tracking with you guys, so, but you're saying, like, we got the money, but you wanna borrow the money so that we can maintain a rainy day fund, and then we'll end up paying that off sooner rather than later, because our revenues are gonna continue to increase.
Yeah, and I don't never borrow money that you can't pay it off early, and I hope
Well, yeah, I
that's
mean,
what this is.
well, I mean, what do
that's
you,
what I think that we ought to look at, is make sure that we're paying them. I know at the last city meeting, they did exactly that. They paid off some of their loans early and saved themselves
That's just written,
$30,000 a year in interest.
that's written into the contract for when you borrow the money from Fiscal.
When they loaned us money for the animal shelter, did they approach us about that?
Yes, they came to me.
So
Well,
that's all
you're talking about Salt River, yeah. They called, they knocked on my door, they said, We're excited about Spencer County. We've invested in other counties. We haven't invested in Spencer County. Since we all come in new, we want to invest in Spencer County. What do you think? So that's where we landed.
You know, we can take this 2.8 bid, okay, just say today, okay, we're gonna do it. And then clarify about the sprinkler systems, you know, whatever.
Contingent on the clarification.
And, because we got the money to do it, you know.
Doug, you've been in office, you've been working for the county, what, 34, 35 years, something like that. In all those years, when have we ever had that kind of money in the CDs and in the bank for the rainy day fund?
We never had it. I mean, when I first started here, the whole budget was 700,000, that's general road, jail, everything, and now the road fund's even more than that.
Where the jail is at.
And jail almost is that
They
much
almost
now, and is what we had then and the growth, but I do think when you do meet with these two bidders, let's say, you need to have them kind of spell out on how the payment schedule's gonna be worked on that, because that could make a difference on when some of the money may need to go out, and the completion date, because, I mean, we know when the completion date's done, we're gonna need to pay the whole amount. But we also don't want it, like last year, we thought the animal shelter was gonna be completed in the prior budget. We didn't even budget anything in this year's budget to build the animal shelter, and most of the animal shelter was built in this fiscal year.
Current budget, yes.
And this budget we're in, so there are a few questions like that, I think, good, and I don't think you're gonna need to borrow with what money we got there, considering what the interest rates we're gonna pay on a loan versus what we're gonna get on interest. You don't wanna maybe borrow the whole amount. You may look at borrowing 50% or a third of it or something, or whatever, because you don't wanna get it to where we don't have money to operate.
And another thing too, when we talk about that is when this, say we do it, this building, just like it is, then, you know, we gotta hire somebody to run that building, you know, operate that building. We gotta furnish it with
How
tables,
much you
chairs,
gonna
whatever we gotta
cost to
do.
heat and cool it
You
and
know,
everything else.
You know, so, there's still gonna be money we're gonna have to invest in that building, furniture for the 4 offices, you know, those type of things, insurance, you know, electricity, water, that whole thing, every month's gonna come due. You know, in my opinion, I agree with Scott, you know, if we can borrow a portion of that, from Cato on a short-term loan, just to have a backup, so when we do have to buy $75,000 worth of furniture, chairs and tables for the building.
I think it'd be a good idea to ask what insurance premium on that would be, yeah. 7,500, 10,000?
Probably. But we'll have enough growth to easily cover that.
I know it's easy to say that, and I agree that we will.
We will.
I'm
You know, that's something
concerned,
I like to know.
I'm concerned that just, and I'm for the project, but I'm concerned, I'm just putting that there for food for thought, that we all came into this office, and this county had more money in the bank and debt-free than this county has ever had in 40 years. Do we want to end our term with being the brokest this county has been and in debt at the end of that 4 years?
We won't be. We might have, we already got some debt. We'll go out with debt. Because we're gonna have that RECC.
Well, I'm saying, but we didn't come in with it, and we're just adding to the debt, and our money in the bank's gonna be gone.
But we're also, look at what we've accomplished.
I'm thinking risk
The
versus
previous
reward.
court wouldn't do anything because they didn't want any debt, and they wouldn't vote for any debt. I mean,
We're making investments for the future.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying, you know, take risk versus reward here.
yeah.
You know, I mean, you're putting an awful lot on the line.
Well, when it's all said and done, we're gonna spend that money, but we've got something to show for it. You know, and it'll be a revenue, generating thing in years to come too. Plus, all the other things it's gonna do for the county.
I charge everyone to watch A Wonderful Life. When Jimmy Stewart is talking to Potter, and Potter is telling him that all these people, they need to save up money to build them a house. And Potter says, "You think people can save up
you know, how much time does it take to save up enough to have a roof and a bath? You people will save until they die. They're the ones that do the working and the borrowing, the loving and dying in this community. So he's loaning the money. I mean, we know you have to borrow money to move forward. You can't save money forever and then buy something of substantial. You have to borrow money unless you're just loaded. We all borrow money. We buy what we need. We pay it back best we can. That's another line that's in that movie. And, but we have the opportunity. We have growth. I mean, to me, everything is working for us. Everything is working with us. And it's because of the choosing that we have done. We have made a lot of wise choices, I think. Are all of them perfect? No. But that's okay. Nobody's perfect. But we have made good strides. And the previous court, I totally 100% agree with the vision that COVID money needs to be put into something substantial. And this project, the animal shelter, what we've done on our roads, are three things we can always be proud
The
of.
sheriff's department has more vehicles now, they have more officers, the EMS, we have better coverage, we have more
But you know,
ambulances.
you take this project and you just take it off the table and take the money out of our budget and it's not there, we're still gonna survive, we're still gonna buy vehicles for everybody.
Yeah, what I'm saying is,
We've always
we
done.
have
We're not
made
using
so
this
many
money to budget
improvements
for
and we
costs.
still have the money that we've set aside.
That's what I was saying, the money that Scott was saying that we're gonna get us an increased revenue, we ain't careful, really, we're just gonna blow it right back out the door if we make, more police cars, more officers, more EMS shifts, more ambulances, more.
I think it's always gonna happen.
Well, I mean, it's always gonna happen, but, we've been pretty free flowing with the checkbook and trying to make improvements where need be, but, and I said a minute ago, I said, we're gonna have to tighten up for a year or so here in order to kind of offset this a little bit. And everybody just kind of stared at me, so I was like, is everybody on board with that or not?
We are gonna have to look at expenses more closely. I mean, just like, okay, I'm not bad mouthing Robert, but, they said, oh, we had this much money left over in our budget, so we're gonna buy this. And I know when I worked for the city, that's the way it worked. Okay, at the end of the year, you bought all kinds of stuff, because you had
You didn't want to turn it
leftover
in.
money in your budget, you didn't want to turn it in. But those are the kind of things that might have to look at and say, do you really need that?
Yeah, we already
Can
don't
you
do
turn that
that.
money back over?
Yeah, no, he don't have that money to spend.
Yeah.
The money's in our office.
I know he's gonna ask for park monitors.
Well,
But the thing about it is, if we take this 2.7 million and take it out of the budget today, right now, this county government will continue going on just like we have for the last 2.5 years. Buying police cars, buying ambulance, it will continue to go on.
Well, Jim, I'm on board with this project. I'm on board with it.
So
But I ain't heard but I just said that again, and Dan's the only one here that's agreed with me that we're gonna tighten up the belt. Nobody's.
I don't know if we are not. Why would we?
Well, I think
We have to tighten our budget.
I think we have to agree that
When we're not using
that's
any
something
of this,
that we need
we're not
to
getting,
look at.
we're not using any of this $2.7 million
I think
in
if you take
CDs
this
to pay for the
project
bills
out,
right
you
now.
still need.
Well, I think we need to tighten up your budget to put money back in the bank to start increasing the rainy day fund and other funds for other emergency expenses that may come up.
We've been doing that all along.
But we ain't.
we are, yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are. Surplus, we need to dump it back in.
I know it's hard for some department heads, they think, well, I just didn't
What do you
spend
think, there's that?
10,000 last year on this, I got it to carry.
I like having the money.
It's like, well, once start looking, you've got a lot of money.
Well,
And
just,
pay it
this,
off in 10 years or.
yeah, this is nothing that we have to borrow today,
$1,000.
because we can get a CD. We got a $700,000 CD getting ready to come due. The $2 million, we have reinvested for like 7 months. Now, I know one bank charges 3% to cash in CD. I don't think this bank charges, you just lose some interest. So we don't want to invest that one and need it, if they're gonna charge us 3%, because they ain't gonna lose 3%. But, this will take some time, but this ain't something that this is just an option. And we can use our own money until we can't, and then we can use this option.
And of course,
Okay,
it's
so
the worst, if we don't borrow any money on doing the project, let's say, or if we don't think we need to, if it comes down to like when the ambulance comes due, if we need to borrow the money to put it, to borrow the money to pay for the ambulance, we can look at some other things in the budget at that time and borrow the money for it possibly instead of necessarily on this project.
You know, what,
Well, hopefully interest rates are coming back down, where they are coming back down. And if they get back down in that, 2.5%, 3% area, then it.
That's what
Really being cheap.
How many times have you seen that 2% in your life?
now, last year, we
I've only
blacktopped
seen it once, but.
out of budgeted money, $300,000
Yeah, sometimes.
out of budgeted money. I'm not planning to do that this year. We're gonna do some of that, but we're not gonna do that much.
Right now, ain't none of us.
Now, we got $159,000 of flex money. We didn't get any discretionary money. We're already putting in for discretionary money next budget, and they changed the name. Instead of CPPP, it's now called LARP. It used to be discretion, then it was CPPP, then it was LARP. Since we've been here, we've got 3 names. But we're gonna put in for that. But, so we already got part of 350-some thousand that we're not going to put into roads that will help pay for this.
My opinion, and, I think our next meeting is this next coming Monday.
Yeah, 6 days.
I think, I have not had any of this information till it come in the packet, which is not very long, but, I would
Take it home with you.
like to review it and I think make a decision Monday and give everyone time to think about it, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I tell you what,
And in that meantime, you could even see if we can get 2 contracts sent to us to present Monday and see what the contract spelled out. I mean, because we can vote on, say, yeah, we're gonna do this, then we see the contract, well, there, no, we're not gonna do that. We gotta do something different.
well, we'll do this. I'd be willing to, contact these 2 lowest bidders. If we vote that we're gonna go with the 2 lowest bids and we're gonna research them, and I can get with them, probably in person, and spell out exactly what we want. Tell me what you want to put down to ask them, and then let them come back with a proposal. And then next Monday, we can.
I think the main thing's the fire suppression.
Well, I think the proposal, what I'd like to see is an outline of when started, a payment schedule, completion date,
All right, hold on a minute. Payment schedule,
start date, completion date, fire suppression.
start, completion,
Yeah, and something we need to think about. It all
fire
happens
suppression.
on,
This payment schedule.
Cheryl, when you read that, did it, for 5,000 people? and-
5,000 square feet.
Yeah, 5,000 square feet, so, 5,000 people, a lot of people. It'd be really crowded in there.
It might be.
Does that only include if you have something like a stove and a fryer or, things like
The
that?
definition of A2
It's a fire area.
was,
Fire.
yeah.
So even
It was
if you had
banquet
the
halls.
refrigeration units, that wouldn't require a fire suppression system because they're not.
It's restaurants, cafeterias, or similar dining facilities, and then in parentheses, including associated commercial kitchens. And I think that may be,
Yeah, so
I wonder what the
if
definition of
we,
a
even
commercial.
if,
I was getting ready to ask the
even
same thing.
if it came back to where it said we have to have a fire suppression system because you're having these items in your kitchen, we can eliminate those and do away with the $250,000 fire suppression system.
Can you get them to, okay, look, see the legality of this, I'm getting ready to make a motion. That'll include everything we just said, and then we'll be wrapping up.
I don't think you,
Yeah, well, you'll,
take it down.
take, well,
We all know what's missing.
yeah, okay, y'all, you're messing up my thought. I was gonna make a motion to reject the 4 highest bids, and then, go into negotiations with Jim and Dan, or just Jim, with GMS, WPC, go into negotiations with them to clarify questions we have.
It's not changed the
Is that
bid,
legal?
but ask questions.
Yeah, that's a question.
And, so, is that legal? Without doing a rebidding?
Things like you're not changing what you want them to do.
We're asking for clarification.
We're asking for clarification, yeah.
Did your bid include X? Or did your bid include?
Yes.
Which is what I've been doing with them for the last, since we got the bids, you know. Did your bid, and a lot of it I included in
I
there.
think the bigger question is just because you're rejected for it and go in negotiations with two, which I don't know how you couldn't.
Call it
Negotiations.
Negotiate, I wouldn't call it a negotiation.
Discussion.
Because I think
Clarification.
negotiation indicates.
We're not even talking about price in the conversation.
Clarification.
Clarification is
Yeah.
better.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, getting to the point of, let's say that they need a sprinkler, that one had a sprinkler, one didn't, then you're gonna get to the point of potentially needing to rebid it, because.
Neither had it.
Or-
Nobody
Neither
did.
did it? Okay.
Neither had it.
Doesn't appear, yeah, the one I think is clearer to me than the other, that it addressed at least the sprinkler system.
And really, Corey, all we're gonna ask
Yeah.
to make it even more
Yeah, I
spelled out
understand.
is, will you sign in your contract, if there's sprinkler system needed, you need it. And we're gonna ask both parties the same exact thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's-
Or, you know, give us your, well, they already did. Both of them said they do not need sprinkler systems
Well,
on their bid.
To be fair though,
all
our
we're gonna
request
do-
for proposal did not ask them to bid on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the next 5 days, all we're doing is asking if they'll put that in the contract, saying they're
Go
not
ahead.
required to put it in.
I move that we reject the 4 highest bids and go into clarification and verifications of the bids that were presented by GMS Construction and WPC Construction. Again, for clarification on some items that we have questions about.
Yes. I'll second.
So basically what we're doing is we're gonna focus on these two and go into clarification talks. And then you guys can get back with us, Monday,
The building committee.
building committee. Does that sound good as far as motion?
I think so. And we'll try to get a confirmation from code. I mean, they're saying that it's not required to have sprinkler.
The bidders are,
You're right.
apparently.
I don't know if they're saying that though.
They said that in
That's-
the email.
They said it
In
in
an
an email.
email,
One of
not
the-
in their bids. In the bids that we open,
Yeah.
which is no additional outside information,
All that is
there's
outline
not,
what they're
there's
doing.
not a line item for fire suppression. I don't know that that necessarily means that you can equate that with it doesn't need it, as much as you can equate it with, you didn't ask me to bid on it, so I
Yeah, but
didn't
when they
bid
type
on
the
it.
email, it says, you're not required, which has been
That's
done.
different, yeah.
So.
Let's not worry about it.
But, you know, ultimately, getting confirmation, whether it be from somebody at the state level, as to whether that's required, because, you know, if it has potentially an $250,000 additional price, then you may run into some issues, and so you need to rebid. But I think for now, we'll get the clarification from them, we'll look into the question, and then when we meet on Monday, we'll hopefully have an answer as to what additional steps.
I think a lot of it's gonna be based on what's off the building.
Again, there are lots of variables, but
Well, what's a commercial kitchen?
the
Is this a
wi-
theater?
the winning competitive bidder.
Why would if you have a theater, you know?
Because it's fixed seating.
What the hell is that?
It's fixed seating.
Because of the obstructs egress.
I guess the chair.
Or guys, people let that.
People start
They-
moving, then you got chairs in the
They,
way.
the guy in the white truck's got rules, and he'll tell you.
Well, what I'm looking at, we just don't wanna make
Maybe
sure
they're-
we end up with a big change order because they figured it without sprinklers and then.
Exactly.
You have to
Well,
have sprinklers.
that's the clarification. I mean, basically, the competitive bidder, the winning bidder, will have the answer to us that if it has to be done, it's included in his bid. And if he don't, then we'll have to rebid it. All right. All right,
That's
so
all question.
all right, question's been called for. Everyone understand what we're voting on? All right, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Anyone opposed? Unanimous, motion passes. That concludes our meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Will, second by Zach. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion passes. All right. Good meeting, guys.
You just told me.
I love it when we